For decades, they walked parallel paths in a kingdom built on secrets. One the steadfast warrior of tradition, the other the reluctant heir navigating a modern storm. But now, in a move no one in the palace expected, Prince William and Princess Anne have formed a private alliance. What are they planning? Who stands in their way? And why is Queen Camilla's inner circle reportedly in full panic mode? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. It began with whispers, a sighting at Clarence House here, a hushed hallway meeting at Windsor there. Royal aides trained to detect the slightest deviation from protocol noticed something strange. Prince William and Princess Anne, rarely aligned in public or private, were suddenly seen together more often. Not in the company of others, not by chance, but deliberately. Their discussions were brief, quiet, intense. The nature of their dialogue was hidden, but the energy was unmistakable. Something was being planned. And not just discussed in passing. This was something real. It was the deliberate silence between them that struck a chord of fear among the staff. The kind of silence that always comes before a storm. It didn't take long for red flags to reach the top. A senior courtier reportedly sent a warning memo to the king's private office, suggesting that Anne and William were in unusual and sustained contact with no formal documentation attached. Private meetings had taken place at Sandringham, away from the eyes of press and protocol. More curiously, King Charles had not been informed of these rendezvous. Sources close to the monarch claim he only learned of them after a chance slip by an equerry. The revelation hit like thunder. His sister and his heir were speaking privately, forming a rhythm of their own, and deliberately keeping him out of it. Then came the joint letter unsigned, but unmistakably from William and Anne sent to the Privy Council. A bold request to delay the approval of certain ceremonial appointments made by the Queen Consort's office. Camilla was blindsided. For weeks, she had been consolidating her presence within the structure of the monarchy, placing trusted figures in pivotal roles. But this letter, with its quiet but forceful tone, disrupted the flow. Insiders say she was furious, pacing the halls, demanding answers from anyone who had access to internal communications. But the truth was clear. She'd been outmaneuvered. At the heart of this unexpected union lies something far deeper than political maneuvering. Its legacy. Not the glamour of it, but the burden. Both William and Anne carry the weight of the crown's image on their backs. Anne, the unyielding guardian of tradition, and William, the image of the monarchy's future, have come to realize that legacy is not protected by popularity, it's defended through control. And if Charles is too distracted or too lenient in allowing Camilla to reshape the landscape, someone else must step in. That someone, it now seems, is them. More revealing still are the digital footprints left behind. Leaked messages between palace staff show references to a strategic fallback plan, reportedly penned by Anne and seconded by William. The message implied a need to preserve foundational structures before Charles commits to irreversible action. It's the language of planning, not rebellion. Of preemption, not war. But in a family this fractured, even preparation can be interpreted as betrayal. The monarchy thrives on appearances, but behind closed doors, the walls are shifting. But if the alliance shocked the palace, the reason behind it is even more explosive and deeply personal. Behind every royal mask lies a shadow of pain. And for William and Anne, it's the ghost of Princess Diana and the bitter legacy left in her wake. A grudge unspoken for decades may now be fueling a quiet rebellion from within. The corridors of power in Buckingham Palace may appear polished and dignified, but behind the gilded walls, memories are long and wounds never fully heal. Princess Anne, the dutiful stalwart of royal protocol, never wore her emotions on her sleeve, but those who know her say she never truly forgave the humiliation her brother brought upon the crown. From the moment Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles became the worst-kept secret in Britain, Anne saw a fracture not only in the institution she'd sworn to protect, but in the family she'd fought to hold together. Behind closed doors, she made her disdain known not with fury, but with ice. It wasn't just disapproval of the affair, it was the betrayal of Diana, a woman Anne had quietly respected, even when the rest of the firm kept their distance. And while her words were few, her loyalty ran deeper than anyone realized at the time. For William, that pain never dulled. His silence wasn't forgiveness, it was fury. compressed and buried beneath decades of royal conditioning. Watching his mother's suffering unfold under the glare of a global spotlight, and then witnessing how history was slowly rewritten to soften Camilla's image, chipped away at him. He had to smile when he didn't want to. Shake hands with people who whispered lies about his mother. Sit at the same table as the woman Diana once called the third person in her marriage. And through it all, he never forgot. Never stopped seeing the moment's flashes of his mother's broken voice, her loneliness, her quiet dignity in the face of public devastation. The crown may move on, but William hadn't. In the quiet hours of recent months, stories resurfaced fragments of long-buried moments where Anne, behind the scenes, stood up for Diana in ways the public never knew. She defended her during tense family dinners, insisted Diana's charities receive continued royal support even after her separation from Charles, and refused to attend events where Camilla would be present during the height of the scandal. These weren't grand gestures. They were sharp, deliberate acts of resistance, small, but powerful enough to make it clear where Anne's loyalties lay. Now, years later, those same instincts have returned, this time with William standing beside her. The alliance isn't just political, it's personal. Camilla's rise has been engineered through careful public relations, quiet influence, and shrewd alliances with court officials who owe their careers to her patronage. Her grip on the palace machine is no accident. From the subtle manipulation of press narratives to the slow erasure of Diana's name from royal discussions, the effort to rehabilitate Camilla's image has come at a cost, and Anne sees it. William lives it. Together, they understand what is truly at stake. It was during one of their now frequent private meetings that the unspoken finally surfaced. A pact clear and resolute. William and Anne, heirs to different eras of the monarchy, would stand together on one truth: Diana's legacy must not be erased, not rewritten, not sanitized. Her memory wasn't a problem to be managed. It was the foundation of William's purpose, and the symbol of a royal family that once betrayed its own. This pact, forged in silence and bound by loss, has become the emotional core of their alliance. And while their alliance may be rooted in the past, their next move strikes directly at the present and Camilla's growing influence. Behind the charm and carefully curated public appearances, Queen Camilla has built something far more powerful, a quiet empire of influence inside the monarchy. But now, with Anne and William circling, that empire may be on the brink of collapse. For years, Camilla operated in the background, not a ruler, but a strategist. Not a headline maker, but a tactician. Slowly, methodically, she filled key roles in the royal household with people loyal to her, not the crown. From communications directors to private secretaries, her network of influence extended beyond ceremony and into the engine room of royal operations. These weren't just appointments, they were placements. Trusted insiders positioned to manage the narrative, steer the schedule, and most critically control access. What the public saw, what the monarch heard, even what Charles believed was increasingly filtered through voices loyal to Camilla's cause. And at first, no one pushed back, until Anne and William took notice. It was a pattern too precise to ignore. Camilla's allies began pushing through decisions that traditionally fell under the jurisdiction of the sovereign, or the heir's advisors. Key patronages were redistributed without consultation. Messages from the king's desk began echoing Camilla's personal language. Royal engagements took on a tone more in tune with her interests than with the family's legacy. And as William's role expanded and Anne's protective instincts sharpened, both began to realize they were being cut off, not overtly, but strategically. Meetings were misscheduled, briefings were altered, and proposals mysteriously delayed. A kingdom built on ceremony was now running on manipulation. Inside the palace, tension hardened into mistrust. Charles's inner circle, increasingly influenced by Camilla's loyalists, found themselves at odds with William's younger, more reformist team. Frustrations mounted behind closed doors. Whispers of sabotage began to surface. One source described it not as a disagreement, but as a civil Cold War erupting in the monarch's own household. Even more disturbing were the signs of surveillance. Aides loyal to William reportedly discovered internal emails had been accessed, notes removed from private meetings, and conversations repeated word for word in Camilla's office. In a family where privacy is survival, This level of intrusion was tantamount to war. Camilla, however, didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward. Her public appearances increased. Her speeches grew more pointed, less ceremonial. She aligned herself with causes that allowed her to appear as the modern royal voice, subtly drawing a contrast between herself and Anne's more traditional presence. When Anne objected to a particular photo series highlighting Camilla's leadership qualities, the pushback was swift and harsh. Aides reportedly dismissed Anne's concerns as dated. The message was clear: Camilla was rewriting the rules and she expected compliance. But Anne and William were not willing to be sidelined. In a move that stunned palace insiders, a series of internal strategy documents detailing the restructuring of certain royal duties were anonymously leaked to the press. These documents, though carefully redacted, suggested a deliberate effort to consolidate power around the queen consort and reduce the influence of senior blood royals. The leak was surgical. It didn't expose secrets, it exposed strategy. And more importantly, it exposed motive. All signs pointed to the alliance. The crown has never been defined by transparency, but as William and Anne dig in, Camilla's quiet empire is facing exposure like never before. Lines are being drawn, whispers turning into declarations, and the walls once built to protect the monarchy are being used to entrap its members. But this power struggle is about more than status, it's about royal bloodlines, succession, and legacy, and things are about to get ugly. What started as private tension has become a battle for the soul of the monarchy. In a family where every whisper matters, Anne and William's alliance threatens to reshape the very future of the throne, and those caught in the crossfire may never recover. The monarchy has always relied on one thing above all else: order. But within the private chambers of the royal institution, that order is now being tested like never before. The line of succession, a subject once treated as untouchable, is suddenly up for debate, not in public, but in bitter, emotionally charged conversations between those who hold the keys to the kingdom. At the center of it all stands Camilla, a queen consort who was once expected to remain symbolic, ceremonial, silent. But behind the scenes, she's moving with precision, reportedly lobbying for her children Tom and Laura to receive titles and influence that place them dangerously close to the core of royal affairs. To the outside world, it may seem benign, an effort to include family. But to Anne and William, it feels like infiltration. In response, their alliance has grown sharper, more coordinated, and undeniably strategic. No longer passive observers, Anne and William have begun reinforcing a message rooted in royal bloodlines: only those born into the legacy may shape its future. It's not about ego. It's about duty. William, groomed his entire life to protect the institution, now sees it bending under pressure from ambition, not tradition. And Anne, forged in the fire of stoicism and service, refuses to allow the monarchy to be diluted by those who entered through the side door. Their message is clear. This is not a dynasty to be redistributed, it is a legacy to be defended. The impact has been immediate and unsettling. King Charles, once a steady if aloof figurehead, has begun retreating from his public schedule. Events cancelled without explanation. Appearances rescheduled at the last minute. Royal watchers note his absence, but insiders claim it's something deeper: emotional exhaustion. Torn between his wife's bold aspirations and his family's quiet rebellion, Charles is paralyzed. He has tried to hold the center, but the ground beneath him is fracturing. Those closest to him whisper of nights spent in solitude, of a man unsure whether his reign is truly his own, or merely the stage for a larger, more ruthless play. Amid the chaos, lawyers have been summoned. Advisors on royal trusts and estate allocations have been quietly called to private briefings. It's not just about titles anymore, it's about money, land, and legacy. Who inherits what? Who controls key properties? Who represents the crown in the decades to come? Anne and William are not acting on instinct alone. They are preparing for a legal, moral, and symbolic war over the future of the monarchy itself. And Camilla? She's not backing down. Rumors have surfaced that she's quietly reaching out to foreign royal households, cultivating alliances, drawing sympathy, bolstering her image beyond the UK's shores. It's a move Anne sees as dangerously self-serving, and William views as outright disloyalty. But Camilla understands the game: public image is currency, and international prestige can become a weapon when used strategically. She is assembling her pieces just as they are. This isn't a family squabble. It's a fight for the institution's soul, a conflict in which tradition, emotion, and power collide in a palace built on centuries of silent suffering. But behind every power move, there's emotion and a storm brewing in the heart of a family already on the edge. The king who waited a lifetime for the crown now finds himself isolated, torn between the woman he loves and the heirs he fears. As William and Anne's alliance grows bolder, Charles is being forced to choose, and it may cost him everything. Every monarch dreams of the day they ascend the throne. For Charles, that day came not with triumph, but with tension already brewing beneath the surface. The public may have cheered, the crown may have gleamed, but behind the scenes, he inherited more than just duty. He inherited a family on the brink. In recent engagements, the signs of strain have become impossible to ignore. His smiles are slower, his posture wearier. Longtime staff members whisper of an emotional fatigue taking root deep within him. Once deliberate and focused, Charles now often seems distant, distracted as though haunted by choices he can't bring himself to make. Anne, his sister in blood but not in vision, has made her disapproval known with a precision only she possesses. Never loud, never direct, but piercingly clear. Her objections to Camilla's growing influence have come in the form of loaded questions during briefings, withheld approvals, and sudden refusals to attend events Camilla oversees. She has forced Charles to confront realities he would rather avoid. In private conversations, she has reportedly asked him point blank, "Do you even recognize the institution you now lead?" These moments land with weight, and those present during these exchanges describe the king as visibly shaken, his usual composure cracking under the pressure of familial rebellion. William, too, has begun to pull away. Once his father's closest ally in shaping a modern monarchy, he now avoids key meetings, choosing instead to rely on his own counsel. Proposals that once moved seamlessly between father and son now stall. Advisors once shared are now divided. The Prince of Wales has adopted a new kind of silence, not out of deference, but out of strategy. It is a silence that speaks volumes. The man expected to be the future of the monarchy is no longer following the script, and Charles can feel it slipping. The sense of unity he once leaned on is gone, replaced by a chilling awareness that the throne he fought so long to reach may be lonelier than he ever imagined. Insiders tell of a private family gathering, meant to repair the growing fractures. It ended with Charles reportedly leaving the room in tears. For a king whose life has been defined by restraint, this was not just emotional, it was alarming. His authority is being questioned. His decisions, second-guessed. And perhaps most distressingly, his once iron grip on his family is disintegrating before his eyes. The Queen, notably absent from recent family events, has fueled speculation. Some claim she is avoiding confrontation. Others believe she is drawing her own line in the sand. Either way, the royal family is no longer moving as one. What Charles fears most is becoming unavoidable. A public split, a palace divided, a reign weakened not by scandal, but by internal collapse. He knows that once these divisions reach the public, the illusion of unity will be shattered, and with it, the moral authority of the monarchy itself. He may wear the crown, but the power beneath it is slipping through his fingers, and while he hopes to delay the reckoning, deep down he knows it's coming. But the cracks are already showing, and soon, the whole world will see what's breaking inside the royal walls. One leak can bring down a kingdom. And now, as classified palace memos, private messages, and confidential schedules mysteriously hit the press, the royal family scrambles to contain a crisis that may have been engineered from within. The headlines came fast, but the tremors behind them had been building for weeks. What began as a single article quoting an unnamed palace aide soon exploded into a tidal wave of revelations. Leaked documents, some marked strictly confidential, began surfacing across multiple outlets. They revealed a pattern, a portrait of Queen Camilla as a force not merely supporting the monarchy, but reshaping it with quiet authority. Her alleged micromanagement, strategic scheduling of Charles' appearances, and manipulation of key engagements painted a picture of a queen consort wielding political finesse behind the mask of ceremonial grace. The press ran wild. Camilla, once cautiously embraced by the public, was now under siege. Palace insiders whispered about the source. Fingers pointed in every direction, but one name kept surfacing: William. Though never directly tied to the leak, his media team had recently shifted strategy, becoming more aggressive, more precise in their briefings. Several senior royal correspondents confirmed they had been contacted by individuals close to Kensington Palace, offering carefully phrased insights that seemed designed to provoke just the right questions. It wasn't open warfare, it was surgical sabotage. And while William denied involvement, the silence from his office said more than any official statement could. Anne's role, too, began to draw scrutiny. Known for her ironclad discretion, she had nonetheless made a series of subtle moves that now seemed, in hindsight, far from incidental. Declining to attend Camilla-led events, withdrawing her patronage from charities suddenly receiving Camilla's attention, declining interviews, only to release cryptic statements through third-party sources. Allies of Camilla branded Anne's behavior as deliberate undermining. Her supporters, however, called it principled defiance. Either way, the damage was done. The alliance had triggered a palace-wide eruption and the world was watching. The king's response was immediate, yet opaque. An internal investigation was quietly commissioned, led by a trusted group of senior aides and legal advisors. But as weeks passed, nothing emerged. No report, no press briefing, no accountability. Rumors swirled that the findings were too damaging to release, that the monarchy couldn't survive the exposure. The silence only fueled speculation. Trust within the palace collapsed. Staff who had served loyally for decades began requesting transfers or early retirement. Aides whispered in corners. Doors stayed closed longer. Schedules were altered last minute. A structure built on tradition was now cracking under the weight of suspicion. Camilla, for the first time in years, vanished from the spotlight. Several engagements were canceled without explanation. Her public appearances were replaced with vague statements from her office citing unforeseen conflicts. Behind closed doors, she was said to be livid, demanding loyalty, questioning everyone, even Charles himself. The Queen, who had carefully crafted her image as a calming force, was now spiraling in a storm of exposure, and the timing could not have been worse. Just as she was ascending to a new level of influence, her credibility had been gutted in a matter of days. Then came the collapse inside Charles's communications team. A senior aide, long considered one of the king's most trusted strategists, resigned abruptly. No statement, no farewell, just a resignation letter delivered late at night, followed by whispers of internal conflict too deep to conceal. The king's messaging, once unified and clear, became muddled. Speeches were revised last minute. Interviews were postponed indefinitely. The palace no longer felt like the epicenter of royal control, it felt like a battlefield where no one knew who was truly in command. But this isn't just about palace drama, it's about control, image, and who really holds the keys to the crown. No cameras, no aides, no transcripts. Just 3 royals behind locked doors. The outcome of this meeting has never been officially disclosed, but whispers say it altered the course of the monarchy forever. It happened at Balmoral, the one place still considered sacred enough to host conversations too volatile for the grandeur of Buckingham Palace. The air was already thick with silence when Charles arrived. He was met by 2 of the most formidable forces in his life, his sister Anne and his son William, both waiting, not for reconciliation, but for answers. This wasn't a family meeting, it was an intervention, and by the time the doors shut behind them, the balance of power inside the monarchy was about to shift in a way Charles never anticipated. Sources say it started as a plea. Anne, ever the steady hand of the institution, appealed first. She spoke of tradition, of lines being crossed, of how Camilla's increasing grip over royal protocol was no longer a private matter, it had become a public concern. Then she shifted. Her voice sharpened. Her tone, cold. This wasn't just concern, it was a warning. She reportedly told her brother that unless he redefined the limits of Camilla's authority, she would begin withholding her participation in state functions. That wasn't a threat, it was an ultimatum. One that came from a woman who rarely engaged in drama, but when she did, never played to lose. Then William stepped in. And it wasn't the Prince of Wales who spoke, it was the son of Diana. His words were fewer, but heavier. According to one insider, he delivered a line so sharp it has echoed through every hallway since. Legacy or love, choose wisely. A challenge. A demand. And a mirror held up to a king torn between the woman he fought to legitimize and the monarchy he swore to preserve. For Charles, that moment forced clarity. But clarity does not always bring comfort. Because in that room, stripped of royal fanfare, he faced what no sovereign wants to admit, that his crown could become his prison. The argument that followed was not calm. Staff positioned down the corridor reportedly heard raised voices, at one point shouting. It wasn't rage, it was desperation. 3 people bound by blood and duty, unraveling over a question no throne could answer cleanly. Who truly holds power when personal loyalty and national obligation collide? When the meeting finally ended, Charles exited first, his face pale, his hands trembling. He canceled a scheduled appearance the next morning, citing exhaustion. But insiders knew better. The king had just been given a choice, and every path forward now felt like betrayal. What followed was a silence almost louder than the shouting. Anne returned to London without a word. William flew back to Windsor and cleared his public schedule. But Camilla? She wasn't present, yet somehow she already knew. That evening, in an unguarded moment caught by a trusted staffer, she was heard saying, "This war isn't over." Not with resignation, with resolve. Because if the monarchy thought this confrontation had ended behind locked doors, it was wrong. The real retaliation was only just beginning. But just when the dust seemed ready to settle, Camilla struck back, and her retaliation shocked everyone. She may have smiled through the storm, but Camilla has never been one to accept defeat. In a stunning reversal, she launches a strategic counterattack designed to isolate Anne, corner William, and reassert her dominance no matter the cost. Within days of the Balmoral confrontation, a subtle shift began to take hold in the media. Articles started appearing none overtly accusatory, but laced with insinuation. Long-serving columnists began questioning Princess Anne's increasingly rigid stance on modern royal matters. One piece referenced whispers in court circles about her mental exhaustion and inability to adapt to the evolving public role of the monarchy. It was calculated, not cruel an erosion of image rather than an outright takedown. But the message was unmistakable. Camilla had not only survived the challenge from within, she was retaliating with surgical precision. Next came William. For years, he had cultivated the reputation of a modern heir, calm, grounded, visionary. But now, the tone of coverage surrounding him began to curdle. Rumors were seeded about his inflexibility, his resistance to new ideas, his preference for isolation over collaboration. One report claimed foreign diplomats found him cold and dismissive in recent meetings. It wasn't about proving William unfit, it was about painting him as emotionally brittle, unprepared for the throne he was destined to inherit. These stories didn't come from nowhere. They came from someone with access, with motive, and with the power to shape perception from within. Camilla herself stepped into the arena gracefully, publicly, but with an edge sharpened by months of quiet humiliation. She appeared on multiple high-profile programs, offering what appeared to be harmless reflections on duty, change, and unity. But beneath the polished language was a clear subtext. Those clinging to tradition were holding the monarchy back. She spoke of inclusion, modernization, and the need to look forward, not inward, phrases that may as well have been darts aimed directly at Anne's resistance and William's caution. And the public, weary of royal tension, seemed increasingly receptive to the idea that the Queen Consort was the one driving the monarchy into the future. Then came the institutional pressure. Charities long aligned with Princess Anne's patronage suddenly found themselves under review. Audits were launched. Funding was delayed. Inquiries were made into governance practices that had gone unquestioned for years. It was as if Anne's entire legacy of service was being placed under a microscope, not to find fault, but to instill fear. To remind her that nothing, not even decades of loyalty, could withstand a carefully orchestrated campaign of doubt. William's team wasn't spared. His private secretary, his closest advisor, was suddenly at the center of a scandal. Anonymous claims surfaced about impropriety, swiftly denied and dismissed, but not before headlines grabbed hold. It was a move designed not to destroy, but to destabilize, to make William question who he could trust. And in the world of royalty, paranoia is as corrosive as any scandal. Even Parliament began to shift. Allies of Camilla, emboldened by her renewed public favor, began questioning royal spending in select areas, coincidentally those under Anne and William's purview. Hearings were suggested. Transparency was demanded. The Queen Consort had unleashed something far more dangerous than gossip. She had weaponized the machinery of state. But her boldest move is still to come, and it involves rewriting royal law in a way that could change everything. Every kingdom has its reckoning. In a final audacious maneuver, Camilla reportedly begins pushing for a historic shift, one that could alter succession rights, redefine royal authority, and cement her place in history. But William and Anne are ready, and what comes next could rip the monarchy apart. What began as whispers in legal circles soon transformed into full-blown panic behind the palace walls. Camilla, through her network of loyal attorneys and political sympathizers, allegedly commissioned a controversial proposal, a modernized succession protocol. On the surface, it was dressed in noble language: equality, inclusion, relevance. But beneath that facade lay a motive so brazen it sent shockwaves through the royal establishment. The proposal hinted at recalibrating the hierarchy of royal authority, allowing for expanded titles and responsibilities for step relatives and non-bloodline heirs, should the reigning monarch choose. In short, it created legal space for Camilla's lineage to secure a permanent foothold in royal affairs. William and Anne wasted no time. United by urgency and outrage, they executed a calculated blow. A confidential dossier was leaked, documents that showed early drafts of the proposal, annotated by members of Camilla's legal team, with language suggesting bypassing Parliament in favor of private royal prerogative. Constitutional interference. It was an unthinkable breach. The leak ignited a firestorm. Within hours, social media erupted. Hashtags demanding transparency from the palace trended worldwide. Public trust, already fragile, began to fracture. Prominent voices in the press and Parliament called for formal inquiry. And in the midst of it all, Charles vanished from public view. For nearly 2 weeks, the king made no appearance, issued no statements, and was seen by no reporters. Speculation filled the vacuum. Some believed he was ill. Others claimed he was incapacitated by indecision. But those closest to the palace suggested a far darker truth: that Charles had withdrawn to avoid making the impossible choice between his wife's ambition and the crown's survival. His absence sent a dangerous message. The monarchy, it appeared, was rudderless at a time when it needed unity most. Behind closed doors, the crisis deepened. A series of secret meetings reportedly took place between senior royals and high-ranking government officials. Lawyers, constitutional scholars, even intelligence advisors were summoned. The question at hand wasn't just legal, it was existential. Could the monarchy withstand another rupture in public confidence? Could the king maintain control if his heir and his sister both publicly opposed the Queen Consort's plan? The stakes had never been higher, and every move risked shattering what little stability remained. At last, a decision was made. A final summit, scheduled behind the thick stone walls of Windsor, with all senior royals required to attend. Not a public ceremony, not a show of unity, a reckoning. The goal: restore cohesion. But insiders say the meeting was riddled with tension before it even began. Anne reportedly arrived late. William kept his distance. Camilla came flanked by legal counsel. And Charles, pale and subdued, remained silent through most of it. Nothing was leaked. No resolution announced. Only one truth remained: trust, once broken, cannot be legislated back into place. As the palace gates close behind them and the cameras fade, only one question remains: can this family survive its own secrets? Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.